Hey, I'm going to show you some pics from my New York trip. This one's from when I was eating on the plane. I'll keep it short. I took an Asiana Airlines flight to New York, and after watching a movie in my seat, they brought out the in-flight meal. That's what you see in the pic. It had chicken with some cream sauce, broccoli, mini carrots, olives, and potato wedges. The veggies were fresh and the potatoes were nice and crispy. After eating on the plane, I finally arrived in New York. Once I got through all the airport stuff and stepped outside, this is the view I saw. You can tell I took this pic right outside the airport. Those yellow taxis lined up outside the window totally scream New York, don't they? They're so iconic, you can spot them from a mile away. The weather was a bit cloudy, but I could see the moon peeking through, which was pretty cool. The airport area was busy with lots of cars and people moving around. You can see some buildings and trees in the distance. And since it was fall, the leaves were starting to change color. It really hit me that I was in New York the moment I stepped out. I had to take a taxi to my hotel, and that's when the real New York trip felt like it started. Before waiting for a taxi, I got a bit hungry and looked around for something to eat. That's when I found this place inside the airport called Central Diner to Go. You can see the red sign in the pic, right? They had a menu with drinks like coffee, lattes, and mochas, and the prices were listed. Coffee was about $3.99. There were people lining up to order, so I stopped by and grabbed a coffee. The place had a clean, modern vibe since it was in the airport, and the staff were really nice. Sipping my coffee, it really sank in that I was in New York. I sat down at a table with my coffee from Central Diner. That's the coffee you see in the pic. The lid says, "Caution hot," warning me to be careful since it was hot. I put my straw and camera on the table too. I brought the camera to take lots of pics in New York. Taking a break with that coffee made me feel so much better before starting my trip. Having a moment of calm with a coffee at the airport really got me ready to explore New York. After my coffee, I looked into transportation options and bought a JFK AirTrain ticket. That's the ticket in the picture. It's super convenient to take the AirTrain from JFK to get into the city. The ticket says the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and has a phone number and website on it. I got the ticket and took the AirTrain to the city. It was so easy to get to downtown New York from the airport. This pic is from when I was moving through the airport after getting my AirTrain ticket. You can see people pulling their suitcases and rushing around, right? The airport was huge and modern, with lots of lights on the ceiling and a shiny floor that made it feel so clean. There were signs above pointing to the NYC subway and Long Island Railroad. I took the AirTrain and then switched to the subway to head into the city. I got off at a subway station after taking the AirTrain, and this is the pic I took right after. As soon as I stepped out, I saw yellow taxis, people everywhere, and trees with fall colors between the tall buildings. It really felt like I'd arrived in New York. There's a Hillstone sign in the pic, and I later found out it's a famous restaurant. You can see the subway entrance and a bus passing by with tons of people coming and going. It was so lively. That's when I started exploring New York for real. I took this pic while walking around after getting off at the subway station. It totally captures the busy vibe of New York streets. People were crossing the street between tall buildings, and there were so many cars. It was such a lively atmosphere. You can see a Panda Express sign in the pic, and I ended up eating there later. There were trees between the buildings, and since it was fall, the leaves were starting to change color. I stopped to take this pic when the light turned red, and I could really feel New York's energy. I arrived at the hotel I was staying at after getting into the city. The place in the pic is where I stayed, called Pod Hotel. You can see Pod on the sign and flag, and there's an American flag too. The hotel was nestled between those classic New York brownstone buildings, which made it feel so cool. There were lots of trees around the hotel, giving off a real fall vibe. The weather was a bit cloudy, but once I unpacked at the hotel, I felt ready to really start exploring New York. This is a pic I took after checking into the Pod Hotel and going into my room. The room was small, which is so typical of New York. You can see the bed all neatly made, and there was a window so I could look outside. There was a heater under the window and a small shelf with a lamp next to it. On the left, there was a spot to hang clothes, so I hung up my jacket, and there was a shelf to organize my stuff too. The room was tiny but clean and had everything I needed, so it was comfy. After a long day in New York, coming back here to rest felt so nice. I rested at the hotel for a bit and then headed to Times Square in the evening. Isn't it so dazzling in the pic? The huge billboards were full of Broadway musical ads and brand ads. You can see ads for SpongeBob SquarePants, the musical, and Kinky Boots. And there's a McDonald's sign, too. The streets were packed with people, and yellow taxis and buses kept passing by. It was such a lively vibe. The bright lights of Times Square made it feel so vibrant, even at night. I took another pic from a different angle while I was exploring Times Square. It was just as dazzling here, too, with tons of bright billboards. You can see Kinky Boots and Dynasty ads, and there's a Doubletree Sweets sign, too. There were so many people that crossing the street was a bit chaotic. The lights were even more sparkly at night, and you could really feel the lively atmosphere of Times Square. I had such a good time watching people and taking pics, soaking in New York's nightlife. After exploring Times Square and taking tons of pics, it got late, so I walked back to my hotel. Isn't the New York night street so pretty in the pic? The lights from the tall buildings were sparkling, and the streetlights felt so warm. There were still so many people out, so the streets were never quiet. Walking back while looking at all the signs, I really felt the charm of New York at night. I got back to the hotel and wrapped up the day. I was tired, but it was such a fulfilling day. I got it from a place called AFC, and it had a few pieces of sushi with some salmon and tuna slices. It came with soy sauce, wasabi, and ginger too. Eating it in my hotel room was the perfect way to end the day. The sushi was fresh and tasty, and the portion was just right to fill me up. I also got this milk to have with my sushi. It's a low-fat milk called Good to Go. Cute name, right? And that's how my day wrapped up. I'll tell you more next time. Bye.